I will sing unto God a new song. Sing unto God and we'll all sing along. All the earth a new song unto God. Shiru l'Adonai kol haaretz. Shiru l'Adonai shir chadash. Shir chadash.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody, and happy day after Thanksgiving. And I hope everybody had a wonderful Thanksgiving. I know most everybody here, but in case we haven't met, I'm Stephanie Bernstein, one of the rabbis here at Erev Shalom. And I am here to welcome Shabbat with our wonderful student cantor, Laynie Zell. And Frank, of course. Conlon, thank you so much for being here. And just a few things before we get started. I wanted to invite everybody to turn off anything that might make noise, cell phones, I don't know what else might make noise, I don't know. And also to thank you all for wearing your masks and wearing them up over your nose. Thank you so much, so that we can keep all of us safe. And I wanted to introduce a special guest, a friend and colleague who is here this evening, Reverend Dr. Rebecca Savage, who is the minister of the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Rockville. So please welcome our colleague and my friend, Reverend Savage. We're delighted to have you. And we do love to sing, even with our masks on. We can sing, except for Laynie has her mask off so that we can really hear her sing. So we're going to continue with a song, right?
So this one should be in your program. Because this week is Thanksgiving, we thought we'd sing a song about wondering and feeling gratitude towards all of God's creation. It's called Ma Rabu. Ma Rabu, Ma Rabu, Ma Rabu, Ma'asecha Adonai. Ma Rabu, Ma Rabu, Ma Rabu, Ma'asecha Adonai. Try that with me. Ma Rabu, Ma Rabu, Ma Rabu, Ma'asecha Adonai. Ma Rabu, Ma Rabu, Ma Rabu, Ma'asecha Adonai. Kula bechokma asita, kula bechokma, kula bechokma asita, Ma Rabu, Ma Rabu, Ma Rabu, Ma Rabu, Ma'asecha Adonai. Ma Rabu, Ma Rabu, Ma Rabu, Ma'asecha Adonai. How great are the things you have made, God, is what we just said.
Beautiful. Thank you. We continue our service on page 2 with the kindling of the Shabbat lights, and I wanted to invite Susan Simon, a past president of Temple Road of Shalom, forward to light the candles. We're on page 2.
As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we, in our own day, be among those who kindle light.
You got it. One more time. Baruch atah Adonai We'd like to bring in Shabbat with a little bit of Kabbalat Shabbat, which is the receiving of Shabbat. So on page 12, you'll find the words to Lechu Neranana. Lechu Neranana l'Adonai Naria Letzor Yishenu. Lechu Neranana l'Adonai Naria Letzor Yishenu. Nekadma fanav betoda bizmirot naria lo. Lechu neranena l'Adonai naria letzor yishenu. Nekadma fanav betoda bizmirot naria lo. Nekadma fanav betoda bizmirot naria lo. Ki el gadol Adonai umelech gadol al kol Elohim asher biyado mechkerei aretz v'to'afot arim lo. Asher biyado mechkerei aretz v'to'afot arim lo. Ya lai la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya lai la la la, ya lai la la la, ya la lai lai lai, ya lai lai lai, ya la 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 la, ya la lai lai lai, ya la lai lai lai, ya lai lai lai, ya la 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 la, ya la lai ya lai. On page 20, Lecha Dodi, verses 1, 2, 5, and 9. This might be a new melody for some of you, but the chorus is easy enough to catch on, so I hope you'll sing along. Lecha Dodi, likrat kala, penei Shabbat, nekabela. Lecha Dodi, likrat kala, penei Shabbat, nekabela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad, hishmianu el hamiuchad. Adonai echad u'shemo echad, l'shemu tiferet v'li tehila. Lecha Dodi, likrat kala, penei Shabbat, nekabela. Lecha Dodi, likrat kala, penei Shabbat, nekabela. Likrat Shabbat, lechu v'nelcha, ki hi mekor habracha, merosh mikedem nesucha. Sof ma'aseh b'mokshavat techila. Lecha Dodi, likrat kala, penei Shabbat, nekabela. Lecha Dodi, likrat kala, penei Shabbat, nekabela. Hitoreri, hitoreri, ki va'orech kumi uri, uri, עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובצולה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה, בואי חלה, בואי חלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה.
We continue our service on page 28 with the call to worship, the Baruch Hu. And if you are comfortable in rising, I invite you to rise. We're on page 28.
Am I awake? Am I prepared? Are you listening to my prayer? Do you hear my voice? Can you understand? Am I awake? Am I prepared? Baruch hu et Adonai hamevorach. Baruch Adonai hamevorach le'olam va'ed, le'olam va'ed. Yalalai, lai, lai, 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 yalalai, lai, lai.
We continue on the top of page 31. Please join me. Praise to you, Adonai our God, from whom the evening flows. Your wisdom sets the way on which time and season glide. Your breath guides the sail of the stars. Creator of the tide of time and light, you guide the current of day into night. As heaven spans to infinity, you set its course for eternity. Praise to you, Adonai our God, from whom the evening flows. Baruch atah Adonai Hama'ariv Aravim.
Amen.
Page 33. Wisdom and wonder, passion and instruction, story and symbol, all these things your Torah gives to us. And the more we devote ourselves to it, the more it grows and gives. What could be a truer token of your abiding love than this holiest of your works and the living language that gives it form? Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed.
Please be seated. Please join us on page 36 as we continue our service with the Ahavta.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך ושרתם לאות על ידך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם אלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם. אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
We continue responsively on page 39. In a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace, give us the courage to say, Adonai, there is one God in heaven and earth.
The high heavens declare your glory. May earth reveal your justice and love.
From bondage in Egypt we were delivered. At Sinai we bound ourselves to your way.
Inspired by prophets and instructed by sages, time and again we overcame oppressive forces.
Though our failings are many and our faults are great, it has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in dark ages your vision of a world redeemed.
Let us continue to work for the day when the nations will be one and at peace. Then shall we rejoice as Israel did, singing on the shores of the sea.
Michamocha, page 40.
Who is like you, Adonai? Who is like you, Adonai? Michamocha ba'elim Adonai, Michamocha nedar b'kodesh, nora tehilot osei felet, nora tehilot osei felet. Malchutecha ra'u vanecha bokei hayam, livnei Moshe uMiriam. Ze Eli anu ve'amru, ze Eli anu ve'amru. Adonai yimloch leolam va'ed. Ya la la la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la la la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la.
We continue on page 43 with this beautiful interpretation of the Hashkivenu prayer, Let There Be Love, page 43.
Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Let there be love Hashkiveinu, Adonai Eloheinu, Hashkiveinu, Leshalom, Vehamidenu, Shomreinu Lechayim, Ufros Aleinu, Sukat Shlomecha, Hashkiveinu, Adonai Eloheinu, Hashkiveinu, Leshalom. Let there be love, let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Please rise if you are able for the Tefillah Amidah on page 46. Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi agi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, v'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Vekonei Hakol, Vezocher Chastei Avot ve'imahot, Umevi Geula livnei v'neihem, Leman Shemo be'ahava, Melech Ozer u'Moshia u'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham ve'Ezrat Sarah. Page 50. Atah Gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechayei hakol, Atah Rav le'Hoshia, Mashiv haruach u'morid hagashem, Mechalkel chaim bechesed, Mechayei hakol berachamim rabim, Somech noflim ve'rofeh cholim, Umatir asurim, Umekayem emunato, Lishenei afar, Michamocha b'gevurot, Umidom elach, Melech meimit umechaye, Umatzmiach Yeshua, V'ne'eman atah lehachayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayei hakol. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, U'kdoshim bechol yom yehalelucha Selah. Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh. Page 60. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Le'olam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam V'tov Beinecha Levarech Et Amcha Yisrael Bechol Eit Uvechol Shah Bishlomecha Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam Tasim Leolam Tasim Leolam. We continue in silent prayer. Page 62. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'imru Shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'imru amen. Ya la 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 la. This is the moment in the service when we think about the people in our lives who need healing, and that could be physical, spiritual, mental, or emotional. It could be any type of healing, but those people in your life, you know who they are. And I'm going to read a list of names, and then once I've done that, I'll look around the room, and I'd like you to add anyone you're thinking about out loud if you would like to. Alon ben Barbara, Esther bat Hannah, Hannah Esther bat Crandall, Hannah Leah bat Yosef v'Chendel, Moshe ben Wolf v'Daniela, Shmuel Yoel ben Shaul, Sima Pearl Leah bat Chaya, Valerie Aronson, Ann Bennett, Henry Botuk, Maria Campo, Gabriel Cohen, Ellen Gallant, James Green, Eleanor Gruber, Sarah Heppenstall, Martha Kelly, Rhoda Moses, Francis Wolfson. As I move my hand and eyes around the room, please feel free to add any more names and correct a name that I might have mispronounced. Misha Berach can be found on page 253. Misha Berach imotenu mekor habracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. Rabbi Bernstein.
This week, I've been thinking about my grandmother, Sarah Tesler Leibovitz. And it's not because of her cooking, although she really was a wonderful cook. Good luck getting her recipes because, of course, they weren't written down, but that's a story for another time. My grandmother was one of the millions of immigrants, Jews and others, who came to the U.S. in the early years of the 20th century. She arrived in Duluth, Minnesota when she was 12 years old with her mother and her three siblings. Her father had come to the United States several years before to lay the groundwork for the family's arrival, and of course, he was virtually a stranger to the children. I remember my grandmother telling me of the humiliation she felt when, at age 12, she was put into the first grade because, of course, she could not speak English. And she recalled how small the chairs were and how uncomfortable it was for her as a tall 12-year-old girl to sit there. She became a successful businesswoman, owning and managing a jewelry store that she ran with my grandfather. And above all, she was a proud American. I can still see her in my mind's eye, walking back and forth in the living room, rehearsing the talks, that's what she called them, that she would give at schools and at other public venues. The topic was Americanism. The definition is the attachment or allegiance to the traditions, institutions, and ideals of the United States. She was no doubt helped in preparing these talks by the dictionary, the huge dictionary in the corner of her living room, which was so large that it had its own book stand. And she remained concerned throughout her life as someone who was an immigrant for whom English was not her first language, that it was so important to use the precise word. She rehearsed her speeches not only in the living room, but out loud on her numerous walks around Chisholm, Minnesota, where she moved after she married my grandfather, and then back in Duluth when she and my grandfather retired. And in fact, she was once interrupted by applause as she finished on one of these walks. There was a guy working under his car. She hadn't seen him, and she came to the end of the talk, very stirring, and he pulled himself out on the dolly, and he applauded as she finished her speech. When I was growing up, I confess that I only dimly understood her passion for America, and at times, I was vaguely embarrassed by it. She was passionately devoted to the country that gave her and her family a home. As her beloved granddaughters, my sister and I grew up. As we grew up, our grandmothers sometimes chafed at our opinions and ideas. We were, after all, young girls, young women born and raised in America, for whom the passion of patriotism did not burn as brightly as it did for our grandmother. In 1972, Nana and I had a very big disagreement over the presidential election. Okay, those of you of a certain age, who was running in 1972? McGovern versus Nixon. Okay. I was in college, and I supported and worked very hard for the election of George McGovern, who campaigned to end the war in Vietnam. This, in my view, and the view of many other people, was not a just war. Nana was very troubled by this idea that anyone could be against a war that the United States was fighting and in which U.S. soldiers were dying. To her, to be against the war was simply unpatriotic. But I had an ace up my sleeve. I countered with what she had always told me. In addition to Judaism, the religion in our family was what was called in Minnesota the DFL, the Democratic Farmer Labor Party. And she told me growing up that the Democratic Party was the one that looked out for people who were poor, for the working people. And so, of course, like any good young adolescent, I gave that right back to her. And I said, you know, you always told me that it was important to vote for the Democratic Party. But up until the election, I really did not know how she would vote. Just before the election, she was injured. She broke her leg, and so she was not going to miss voting, and she had someone from the League of Women Voters bring her an absentee ballot. I received a note from her when I was at college, and it read as follows. I wanted you to know that the volunteer from the League of Women Voters came to bring me my ballot, and I voted a straight Democratic ticket. Love, Nana. My sister, even as a teenager, was fascinated with genealogy. That was one of her passions, and she announced one day to our grandmother, I am 3/4 Russian and 1/4 Polish. Nana turned on her heel and said to my sister, you are an American, and don't you ever forget it. Perhaps my grandmother has been in my thoughts this week, in part because Thanksgiving and Hanukkah are once again so close to each other on the calendar. And I asked myself, what do they have in common? And I think the answer is gratitude. Certainly on Thanksgiving, we are grateful for the myriad of blessings that we have. And on Hanukkah, we are grateful for the freedom that we have to enjoy those blessings. And on Thanksgiving, our gratitude is not just for food and family and shelter, although it is certainly for these blessings, but it is also gratitude to our country. Yehuda Kurtzer, who is the president of the Shalom Hartman Institute of North America, reminds us that our narrative as a people here in America is characterized by the many blessings that America has given us. He notes that more than one of our American rabbinic teachers has described America as a malchut shel chesed, a place, a country that represents goodness for the Jewish people, and certainly we have thrived here. The gratitude for this goodness, he argues, and I would agree, should lead us to what he calls a rhetoric of obligation and civic engagement, which has continued to occupy Jews for so many years, a sense that we owe more than the minimum in gratitude to all that our country has given to us. That we, many of us, have grievances with the current state of America, of that there is no doubt. America is not the country it should be. The rise of anti-Semitism, attacks on Jews and other minority groups are troubling. Systematic racism and its effects, income inequality, all of these and more are things on which we should be working very hard. We can be angry while we're working to change things, and we have a responsibility to fix what is not good. But America still deserves our gratitude. The gratitude connected with Hanukkah is that of a people who are free. On Hanukkah, of course, we celebrate our victory over the Greco-Syrian army and the Maccabees' rededication of the temple that the Greco-Syrians had desecrated. The story of our people, of the Jewish people, is one of living in societies where our ability to practice our religious traditions was often constrained and sometimes forbidden. Our grandparents and great-grandparents came to America to escape religious persecution and the stifling, soul-crushing poverty that religious persecution engendered. During Hanukkah, we celebrate and are grateful for the freedom we have to practice our religion in the face of a dominant culture which is not our own. We are grateful for the great gift in this country of the constitutional separation of church and state. We have the freedom to speak our minds, to speak up, to act, to protect the rights of all who are marginalized. This week's Torah portion is called Vayeshev, which means "and he settled," and it refers to Jacob settling in the land of Canaan, the land where his father and his grandfather sojourned. It is the beginning of the story of Joseph, which will occupy us in the book of Genesis until the very end. We learn of the ups and downs, the twists and turns of Joseph's and his family's lives, from Canaan to Egypt, to slavery in Egypt, to redemption from slavery, to a covenant with the God of Israel, the journey back to Canaan, where they would settle and endeavor to build the just society that God commanded. But what does it mean to settle, to dwell in a place where we are not in the majority, which has been the case for most of our existence as a people? We can gain some wisdom from the prophet Jeremiah's letter to the exiles in Babylonia after the destruction of the first temple in 586 before the Common Era. He said, "Thus said the Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, to the whole community which I exiled from Jerusalem to Babylon, build houses and live in them, plant gardens and eat their fruit, take wives and beget sons and daughters, and take wives for your sons and give your daughters to husbands that they may bear sons and daughters. Multiply there, do not decrease. And seek the welfare of the city to which I have exiled you, and pray to Adonai on its behalf, for in its prosperity you shall prosper." To not only pray for the welfare of the city to which you are exiled, but to help it thrive. And I would add to Jeremiah's advice, to be grateful for the opportunity to do so. You might recall that back in the Garden of Eden, when God confronts Adam, asking why Adam ate the forbidden fruit, Adam is pretty gosh darn quick to blame Eve. God asks, "Did you eat of the tree from which I had forbidden you to eat?" The man said, "The woman you put at my side, she gave me of the tree, and I ate." The medieval Torah commentator Rashi really takes Adam to task. He says Adam was a person who denies the good being his partner Eve, who was created to be with him in this world. Here, Adam showed his ingratitude, Rashi says. So it turns out that one of our very first sins as human beings was ingratitude. Rabbi Naomi Levy helps us to reflect on the many, many blessings for which our gratitude has no end. She writes, "For the laughter of the children, for my own life breath, for the abundance of food on this table, for the ones who prepared this sumptuous feast, for the roof over our heads, the clothes on our backs, for our health and our wealth of blessings, for this opportunity to celebrate with family and friends, for the freedom to pray these words without fear, in any language, in any faith, in this great country whose landscape is as vast and beautiful as her inhabitants. Thank you, God, for giving us all these." Amen. Shabbat Shalom. We continue our service on page 282 with the Laynie, and I invite you to rise.
לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסר ארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינת זו בגופים מרומים, הוא אלוהינו אלוהינו, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. Page 287. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו
At this time of year when we are able now, thankfully, to gather with our families, we certainly are grateful to be together, but we also miss those who were able to join us for so many years who are no longer living. And I think their absence is felt even more keenly on holidays like Thanksgiving. This evening, we remember those of our congregation and their family members who have died in years past and who are currently in the period of Shloshim. And it's our custom here at Rodef Shalom, when I read the name of your loved one, if you feel comfortable in doing so, to stand so that we can acknowledge you as mourners. In the period of Shloshim, the first 30 days of mourning, we remember Harold Steinberg, the husband of Lana Gold Steinberg, and Sarita Zell, the mother of Wayne Zell and grandmother of student Cantor Laynie Zell. In addition, we recall the names of our loved ones and family members whose yahrzeits we observe this Shabbat: Orville Alexander, Claire Bronstein, Margot Droller, Bruce Dunn, Philip L. Eisenberg, Bertha Fisher, Esther Fish, Joseph Fish, Helen I. Fleischer, Jacob Freilich, Joseph Garten, Bernard Gelfand, Goldie Gerechter, William Gleicher, Estelle Gold, Barbara Goldstein, Cecilia Gordman, Jane Grillo, Louis Hellman, Ida Henkin, Morris Hoffman, Sarah Hoffman, Annette Hauptman, Nora Jacobs, Catherine Katz, Doris Katz, Irving Kay, Sarah Cohen, Edward Korn, Freda Lederer, Albert Leon, Eleanor Lerner, Anna Lesson, Edith Levinson, Luther Mitchum, Simon Moskowitz, Ruth Moskowitz, Rose Nachman, Doris Newman, Sandra Nierenberg, Robert Oremland, Richard Parnas, Meyer Poneman, Karina Rosenbaum, Harold Silver, Leon Selim, Don Smith, Lila Spiegel, Florine Stefanik, Mary Stolero, Danielle Winograd, and Alice Zug. And if you are observing a yahrzeit this Shabbat and would like to share the name of your loved one, I invite you to do so. We turn to page 294 and rise to support our mourners with the words of the Mourner's Kaddish, 294. Yit Gadal, V'yit Kadash, Shamei Rabbah, Be'alma Divra Chirute V'yamlich Malchute, B'chaye Echon U'vyom Echon, U'v'chaye Techol Beit Yisrael, Ba'agala V'zman Kari V'imru, Amen. Yehei Shemei Rabbah Mevarach Le'olam U'almei Almaya, Yitbarach V'yishtabach V'yitpa'ar V'yitromam V'yitnaseh, V'yithadar V'yithalev V'yithalal Shemei Dekudusha B'richu, La'ela Min Kol Birchata V'shirata, Tushbechata V'nechemata, Da'amira Me'alma V'imru, Amen. Yehei Shalama Rabba Min Shemaya, V'chayim Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael V'imru, Amen. Oseh Shalom Imrama, Hu Ya'aseh Shalom, Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael V'imru, Amen. Zichronam Levracha, may the memories of all of our loved ones always be for blessing. Please be seated. It's now my pleasure to invite Raina Pratt forward. Raina is the co-chair of our long-range planning committee, and she is representing the Board of Trustees of Temple Road of Shalom.
Thank you so much, Rabbi, student Cantor, Frank, for a lovely, lovely service. And Shabbat Shalom to everybody. I am so honored to welcome you on behalf of our congregation to our worship service tonight. To those of you who are visiting us virtually, we hope you will join us in person when you are able to do so. It would be a joy to welcome those virtual visitors, especially, and to tell you more about our extraordinary community. To those of us who have joined us in person, it's lovely to see you, and a special welcome to our visitors that are here. Please check out our e-letter from yesterday and the latest edition of The Connection, which is also available on our website, for more announcements of upcoming events, but I'm going to tell you about one, and that is this Sunday when Hanukkah starts, believe it or not. Please join us on Zoom for Community First Night Hanukkah candle lighting with Cantor Roads, with candles, music, and our family. For the Zoom meeting link, please visit the Temple's online calendar. Once again, Shabbat Shalom, and also Happy Hanukkah.
Raina, thank you so much. Just a couple of announcements before we continue with Kiddush and our closing song and our benediction. First of all, a big thank you to our student cantor, Laynie Zell. What a pleasure to lead services with you. Just really, really
Likewise.
wonderful. And thank you also to Frank Conlon and to Bob Suslowitz, who you can't see, but Bob is back in the nerve center of our audiovisual area, and he is helping us be heard and also making sure that our service is streamed so that people at home can view it. And I wanted to ask if you could please bring your service sheets back to the entrance to the sanctuary. Makes it much easier for our maintenance staff to clean up. So we're going to continue with Kiddush, which is on page 5. And I invite everyone to rise.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho be'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu, zikaron le'maseh v'reishit, ki hu yom tefila b'mikra'ei kodesh, zecher litziat Mitzrayim, ki vanu v'acharta ve'otanu kidashta mikol hamim, v'shabbat kodshecha ve'ahava uvratzon hinchaltanu. it's actually grape juice.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, the bar mitzvah kids are always disappointed. And our closing song is Marabu.
Is once more, Marabu.
Marabu.
How great are the things you have created, God. Sing along with me these words of thanks. Adonai, kulam b'chokhma asita. How great are the things you have created, God. In your wisdom, you created everything. And may we go out into the world this week and into Hanukkah and into the days to come with that attitude of gratitude and thankfulness. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat
Happy
Shalom.
Hanukkah.
Happy Hanukkah. Shabbat Shalom. I feel like that's to be new, like etiquette for COVID.
I know, right?
Are you hugging and then with the person?
Yeah.
Oh,
Asking for permission.
it's beautiful on your benedictions.
What a beautiful service. I think you should tell them at school when you're ready to graduate.
Yes, I agree.
I still have 2.5 more years, but thank you.
Tell them we're going to send something. That's really good.